Irfan, I think, has the advantage of starting in retail and then moving after that into development. So he understands the pressures and the pangs of retail, and they continue that retail business even today. So he truly understands that. And he also understands what it needs for a developer to be able to build out a space which is suitable, convenient, affordable to retailers, which is targeting the community around it and making sure that there is enough traffic coming to that particular development. So he's been in all of these spaces. Prestige, as many of you all know, started initially in residential, then placed Bangalore on the world map by moving into commercial. So the fact that IT became synonymous with Bangalore and the gateway to India, in a sense, became Bangalore in the 90s and the 2000s was all courtesy work done by Prestige amongst many other developers in building out admirable commercial spaces in the city at affordable rates such that it could tap into the talent which is available out here. But let me first, kind of ask Irfan about an issue that many of you all just discussed previously in the discussion, which was about the challenges of balancing the needs of both retailers and developers. And since he's both a retailer and a developer, I think this is something that he would probably emote very well with. So Irfan, if you were to look at, one of the big challenges that a lot of developers were articulating was about the fact that they don't get the right spaces, the spaces that they get don't have the right frontage, the cost that they are paying is not commensurate with the business that they are doing. There is an accountability that each one of them as retailers has for the investment that they made, and they're not able to recoup these investments. And when you look at it from the developer's perspective, they said that, we've got parcels of land which we are converting into retail spaces, and these retail spaces are then being, attractive destinations for people to come in, to shop, to entertain, to eat and stuff like that, and that is our responsibility. So when you see it from both these perspectives, and especially when you look at Forum 2, which is something new that you've started, how would you think about how do you optimize or balance between these two needs?
Thanks, Bijou, for the lovely introduction. First of all, it's my pleasure to be here in this forum. Talking about retailers per se and mall owners is always a balance. Now, as a developer, what do? We create the space. We create the platform where retailers can converge and retailers can put up their different brands, and then it's combination. Now, while we do that, today, retail is just not about shopping. I think all of us know that. Retail is about the overall experience. Starting from when you enter the gates of the shopping center to the time you exit, plus the ease of getting in, the ease of getting out, the ease of parking, and then the entire experience a person gets in. I call it as a social infrastructure that we are creating. And in this social infrastructure, the needs keep changing. Initially, when we built Forum in 2004, that time it was more about shopping and less about entertainment. There was cinema, but less about food. Now it's more about entertainment, food, and shopping becomes sort of incidental. So there's a big difference. But then the overall thought process then and the overall thought process even today is, the main thing is if any retailer is investing because it takes a lot of money. Even if it's a small store or a large format store, the investments are huge in terms of fit out, overheads, all of it. Now, we want them to succeed because it's only if the retailer succeeds can the shopping center succeed? Can the revenues come in? Can the rents be paid? Now, what happened during COVID? It was February, March of 2020. Very innocuously, my team came and told me there's some talk about some closure. There's some talk about people, the footfalls have become a little less. There's some scare, there's some virus going around. And there could be some few days of closure. But nobody ever imagined that closure is going to actually give a pain for almost 2 to 3 years. So that is something that nobody could even envisage. And in that one moment of, just call it largesse or whatever, I took a decision. I said, listen, if there's some shutdown, if retailers are not trading, I think they need not pay rent. I didn't realize that we are not going to get rent for months together. And then when we really opened, retailers started saying, oh, footfalls haven't started, we've not got back to normal trading, so we can't pay you the full rent. So it became a no-win situation. But then coming to the question and this thing, today retail has evolved, retailing has evolved, the entire shopper has evolved. Now the experience, the better the experience anybody provides as a shopping center developer, the more there will be the success. And of course it's a partnership, it's not a one-way street. We all have to put our the collective heads together to make sure that the entire center does well, survives, so that everybody survives. Because even as a shopping center developer, our investments are huge. And they're not small, and the stress is big, and it takes anywhere between 3 to 5 years to put up a good shopping center, and then again the next 2 to 3 years to stabilize it.
Good, thanks. And let me just pick up on that point that you mentioned, Irfan, about how consumers, retailing has evolved. And the point I wanted to actually make is that during COVID we all saw that lives could go on even though you didn't go to a store, because you could actually order online and pretty much what you wanted to run your house. Maybe there's some things you couldn't get, but pretty much what you wanted to run your life and what you wanted to run your house was available online. So that is one discovery that we had during COVID. We also discovered that we need not go to a mall for 3 to 4 months at a stretch, like in Karnataka, and nothing would happen. So when you really think about the reality of the future, which is that technology will evolve, consumers will evolve, channels of sale, which is largely offline in India today, can also start getting more and more online. And the fact that a lot more products are available online. Payment systems have actually become digital, so it's much easier to transact digitally than physically. So when you think of all of these, and when you think of, let's say, the mall, and if you were to visualize the mall of the future, what are the kind of things that you would do differently there, taking into account that you've got a retailer to satisfy, you've got a consumer to satisfy, and then you've got a community in which you're existing, where the neighborhood also needs to be satisfied. So how would you combine a lot of these things?
See, that's an absolutely amazing question, because when online shopping started, even before COVID, everybody thought that the malls would go out of fashion. Then after COVID, like you said, we got locked in for months together, but then still we survived. But a human being is a social animal. They like to go out. They like to be seen. They like to see. They like to experience. So that makes the big difference. That's why the moment everything calmed down and things became normal, you saw a burst of activity. Retail today is, I think, at its peak. And there's nothing else, because people believe, and now suddenly there's one more thought process that has come in is, okay, if I've got the spending power, I may as well spend it now and enjoy it rather than store it, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's one more thought process. That's how even housing sales have boomed. Now, the thing is, What would we do differently? Yes. See, now when we are designing something new for tomorrow, it's about touch points. It's about the convenience about getting in, getting out. It's the convenience of finding your way there. And a lot more entertainment, food, all of it will come in. And it'll be probably a mix more of food, beverage, and entertainment, and a bit of shopping or a part of shopping. So you see, that shopping is something that you go there, it becomes incidental. You can always buy, but you see, you want to experience, you go to the shopping center. But if you don't want the experience, you can just sit on your couch and get anything and everything that you want. And there many a times, if you don't need it also, you send it back, you get back your money. So it's so convenient. But then the entire joy of getting out, meeting friends, going out with the family is lost. So this is what we provide, and I think that's where the retailers, of course, even retailers, their formats are getting a little smaller from the earlier days. The anchors are reducing their formats, they're making their sizes a bit smaller. Net, it's a combination, and it's how you bring in the entire wow into the place. It's not about I need not bust in too much money on architecture, on all of it, because I believe it's the merchandise that should be speaking, and it's the light that comes in from the stores that really will create the buzz. So all in all, it's the type of zoning, it's the type of merchandise, it's the type of brands that you bring in that really will bring in the footfall into any shopping center.
Good. There's one more question which is, largely related to how our cities are evolving. And, what we are seeing in every city, all of them are expanding outwards. Some are expanding linearly, depending on how they are shaped, and some are expanding in a circular direction. And people are finding it difficult to get from the extremities to the city center, or sometimes even from one side of the city center to the other side. Many cities we have seen, even in India, have evolved to a state where local markets have developed. And these markets have then become self-sufficient for the people living in that particular area. And in that context, this combination of what you might define as residential, retail, commercial, throw in maybe a hospital, throw in maybe a school, all of this then becomes, a critical way of being able to develop. But these require large parcels of land. And we have seen that, sometimes it's the biggest challenge seems to be about acquiring large parcels of land. But leaving that aside, but do you visualize that, as these cities grow and as urbanization increases in India, would we have situations where the role of suburbs will increase, one, in the life of the consumer and not just place where they stay? And the way retail and commercial activity happens, which I'm meaning offices and things like that, will start getting dispersed as opposed to getting centralized.
I agree fully with you, because the era of just a central area where all the activity happens is gone. Now the cities have actually grown so huge. All the metros are the same. So every suburb deserves its own ecosystem. It needs its hospitals, schools, shopping centers, housing, and workplaces. Having said that, what we need is proper connectivity, proper infrastructure. Now metro is solving a lot of those problems. And all in all, I believe the future of suburbs is come. Now, just a few months ago, or a year ago almost, we opened our forum South Bangalore. That's in the suburb. And my people themselves couldn't believe that when we opened the shopping center in the first few weeks, we had footfalls of about daily footfalls of between 80 to 100,000 people, which was quite unexpected or insane. But then, being a suburb, we thought it will be a slow take-off. But then that shows that that area was starved. There was enough catchment, and really there was not enough supply. Similarly, if we choose the right suburbs in different places where there is a good catchment and where there's a need, I believe that those shopping centers will survive and will also be doing a service to the community there. So it just becomes like a community mall there. Plus, see now for a person who stays in central Bangalore will never go there. Maybe more just out of curiosity, you may go there for once, but you'll not go there on a regular basis. But then for the community there around, it becomes their daily routine.
Absolutely. Just one last question, Irfan. I know we're running out of time, but you've been in the construction business now for close to 40 years, and you've seen the pangs of being able to both acquire land and to construct something. If you were to go back to the government and put forward a proposal which contains several recommendations on how we can improve the quality of retail in this country, what are the kind of things that come uppermost to your mind?
See, first thing is, for anything, I would not like to go to the government. Because the moment you want government to do something for you, it actually backfires. Having said that, any good government, now the first thing that happened, why all these large developments are possible is because we got the Urban Land Ceiling Act scrapped. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had any IT parks, you wouldn't have had any of these huge shopping centers or any of that. So this era started, say, in the early 2000. So the last 23 years has been a great run. The Urban Land Ceiling Act got scrapped, and then we could even then suddenly start imagining. I always tell my people, I said it was as though you were in jail and suddenly you got free. Now you didn't know what to do. And then all the big things that people are now doing, big and bigger and biggest, is happening. So that is one thing that has really changed the landscape. It's not only about retail, it's retail, hospitality, IT parks, housing. Housing are happening in mass scale today. Many huge developments are taking place in hundreds of acres. So like you rightly said earlier, see, if you do a mixed-use development like a integrated township, that really helps the entire cause. And we did one in early 2000s, and that has led one to the other to the other. So the thing is, if the government talks of EODB, ease of doing business, but that's only a slogan. The main thing is, what as developers, what would we like? We'd like quick approvals. We don't want them to change any rules. Of course, in Karnataka, for the cinema itself, we got the rules changed, amended to see cinema comes on the third floor. But then sometimes government listen. Now our job is to put the right things in the right perspective and make sure things happen for the better. There should not be any selfish interest. The only thing is how it will be for the larger good. It just can't be only what can it be for me. If we are able to project things that it's going for the larger good, it will help the community, it becomes a social infrastructure, and there's a need, things will happen. And like zoning, like, in case there's a particular large piece of land which has got only a residential zone, but you want to do a multi-zone. So these things can also sort of be changed into that different zones, and that will help for the integrated townships. But all in all, I think we should know how to fend for ourselves, find land for ourselves, make sure that it's all in order, and then do our developments, of course, with all the approvals.
Is there merit in getting the government to insist on reservation? Currently, for example, they reserve parts of pieces of land for civic amenities, and civic amenities typically are seen in schools and hospitals, but civic amenities also shopping. So is there a way in which you can get the government to do that without, of course, it getting misused? That's a different matter.
I believe the moment you do that, there'll be so much of selfish interest that comes in, and there'll be more political interest, so best is let things be the way they are.
Okay. The other thing that you've benefited from, and I can see IKEA benefiting, is the development of the metro link, which has actually helped people to walk in from a station into your mall, and a short walk away from the station into an IKEA store. And many a time the government thinks about a lot of these things much after the event has happened. But having some foresight amongst the planners, which I know is a bit of a challenge in many cities, how do you help them to think through what is likely to be happening to the city in the future, and hence what are the things that you need to do?
No, this metro has been a big game changer. There's no doubt about it. There's also the Government of India policy, which is called the TOD policy, which is a transport-oriented development. That means large developments should be encouraged along the metro corridor, so that there's an ease of people getting in, getting off, commuting. In fact, like in Mumbai, there is a TOD policy, but of course it's not yet implemented. If it does get implemented, you get additional FSI. So it has to, I mean, that's been the policy for across the country, but the governments are slow to implement that. I think first the metro needs to get done, and when TOD happens, that is going to help our cause. And metro is a game changer. Wherever there is a metro station, obviously it will help the housing, it will help workplaces. Like today now, you look at Bangalore, we're talking about the outer ring road. There's so much of who and how about the congestion and the traffic jams, and moving 4 kilometers has taken 3 hours. It's all over the place. But then they have that metro line is running there. Unfortunately, it's got delayed. Now, give it a year or two. Once that gets built fully and it gets operational, then the jams will be a thing of the past. And I think then even the employers can discourage people from coming in their own vehicles and encourage them to use the metro more. These are things that will make things change. These are something progressive. Today, under planning for Bangalore, we've got some 300 kilometers of metro, but implemented is about almost 100. The rest is all under implementation. But once that gets done, it is going to change the landscape. And every big city, including Mumbai, including Hyderabad, including Chennai.
Correct, yeah. Mumbai is exactly a classic example of how central markets like, say, DN Road, Crawford Market, all of them actually got dispersed into the suburbs, courtesy the Western line. So I think in several ways, the metro will be a game changer in the city. We have time for one question from the audience. So if anybody wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. Somebody will come with a mic to you and you can ask your question. Any questions? No questions. So it's a pretty satisfactory interaction. So thank you very much, Irfan, for coming here and spending time with all of us and sharing your knowledge with us so generously. Thank you.